All right, so I'm talking to Pegeen Hanrahan, former mayor of Gainesville, Florida, who was mayor that brought in the municipal feed-in-tariff program. It was the first municipal feed-in-tariff program in North America. Really, how did this get started in Gainesville, and what was the local motivation for doing the feed-in-tariff program municipally?
Well, our solar feed-in tariff was really part of a broader set of new energy policies, including very deep and substantial conservation policies, to try to encourage both homes and businesses to invest in insulation and improvements to their air conditioning and heating systems and lighting and so on. We also have a biomass project underway to build a biomass power plant that runs off waste materials from both the forestry industry and also urban tree trimming and other waste materials that are either burned in the field or composted today. And in addition to that, we had some long commitments to solar. We had, going back to the 70s or 80s, we had solar rebates, and then we started a net metering program, which essentially people use the energy first in their own building, but then put any excess out on the grid, and we pay them the same price that they pay us. So those programs actually continued, but one of our key utility thinkers, Ed Regan, had visited Germany as part of the Solar Electric Power Association, which is a utility group that focuses on renewable energy. And he saw firsthand how the solar industry had really taken off in Germany, and he knew that the landscape was such in Gainesville that it might make sense for us. Obviously, we're the Sunshine State in Florida. But beyond that, he knew that we were really trying to diversify our energy supply, our fuel sources, have greater energy independence, and improve our environmental performance as well. So when he came back with this idea, it was really evident that there would be some benefit to being an early mover, and I think that's something that certainly might be of interest here in Alberta, because we've gotten tremendous media attention and publicity and all of that. And it's really important to say all of this was made possible. The landscape was set by our community. We have a lot of active citizens in Gainesville, many people who wanted to see a more forward-thinking energy supply system. And since adoption, we've had a great deal of enthusiasm and investment in our business community and our Chamber of Commerce as well. So it's been really an exciting transition to see.
So what encouraged you to do this locally and not wait for state or national level governments to act instead?
Well, you know, cities and counties, local governments across the world really have a tendency to lead on the edge of change. It's been true in civil rights policy, it's been true in terms of labor policy, and you know, the reason I really like the local government level is it's not nearly as complex as a provincial or national level government or state level government in the US, in that usually your decision-making body is much smaller. In Gainesville there are 7 decision makers, and you also have fewer complex interests at play and fewer barriers in some cases. And so most city or county officials you'll ever run across don't feel too constrained by their larger level governments in terms of adopting policies that they think are good for their citizens, their economy, their environment, and certainly they're very different places. I mean, it's evident to me Alberta has very rich resources in so many different ways that it's going to be a different decision here in this kind of an environment versus in Gainesville, Florida, which is a very small municipality that doesn't have access to other types of energy resources within our own borders.
Where did you see some of the main opposition, and how did, say, the industry, utilities, local business people, how did they come out on it? And then how, in light of the implementation of the program, and as your community has seen maybe some benefits come from it, or maybe some challenges, how have mindsets from that opposition maybe changed over time?
Okay. Well, at the time of adoption, the only real public opposition perhaps came from a small number of folks who spoke out about the potential cost impact. And there is a cost impact. In Gainesville, for the average residential customer, it's about 70 cents per month today. That covers the first 4 megawatts of solar power. And it will continue to increase slightly over time, but not at that same ratio, because the cost of the program will continue to go down as competition and a stable marketplace have been established. Since the adoption of the program, we've found, first of all, our solar industry has grown quite a bit, and they've also spawned some investment in other industries. For example, they do a fair amount of radio advertising and other media to let people know, hey, there's this program out there and you could take advantage of it. There have been realtors and attorneys involved in some of the larger scale projects. Certainly at a small household type level, that's not necessary. But if you're putting up a 1 megawatt system on top of a Walmart, which we actually have had happen in Gainesville, you might need some other assistance and those kinds of things. And so there are certainly realtors who've been big supporters of the program. And again, our Innovation Gainesville, which is a program of our Chamber of Commerce, has chosen green tech and biotech as the 2 industry clusters that we really have strength around in Gainesville. And it's in all of their material that we're the location of the first solar feed-in tariff in the U.S. So again, there's some marketing benefits essentially.
What prospects do you see for this idea of a feed-in tariff, whether it's at the municipal level, which is a great innovation from Gainesville, or at higher levels for really being taken up across the continent and maybe in a place like Alberta?
Well, certainly there's a lot of action underway, and it's an exciting thing to watch. I'll start with the U.S. since I'm most familiar with it. There have been a few other municipalities. They're all public power communities, as Gainesville is. We have our own generating utility, but Sacramento Municipal Utility District and San Antonio have adopted feed-in tariffs. There are a number of states, including Vermont and also Oregon. And there is active discussion underway in California and Colorado. So there's certainly a lot of discussion here. In Canada, of course, Ontario has perhaps North America's most ambitious program. And Canadian law is obviously different than American law. Their requirement to have local content, I think, has really driven a lot of manufacturing. Now, that's actually prohibited in the U.S., but I think that's a really interesting aspect of that program. So I think we will see some continued adoption of feed-in tariff programs because the results are so dramatic. Just since March of 2009, the installed solar capacity in Gainesville has increased by a factor of more than 12. We're up to about 4 megawatts now, and it's continuing to grow. And it's actually, I should mention, growing both through our feed-in tariff program and our net metering program. And then we still have the traditional rebates available as well. So there are lots of different things underway. I will say there is some kind of effort underway to look at a better name. You know, the term feed-in tariff comes across to many people. It's like, what? You know, what does that mean? It sounds, you know, tariff has an implication sort of like tax, which is not what it is in this case. A tariff is more like the rate that you pay in order to purchase the energy. And different jurisdictions have tried different names, but that's one of the barriers that I think we need to do some better thinking about to try to come up with something that better reflects what it actually means. Clean energy, local energy, and the ability for individuals to make their own energy choices and their businesses to have a stable investment. In Gainesville, your typical feed-in tariff project is designed to have a 4 to 5% return on investment. It's not huge, you know, it's not unreasonable, but it's a stable investment that's a safe place to put your money.
Overall, just what advice do you have for groups in Alberta that are really interested in getting some of the benefits of, say, locally owned or otherwise renewable energy development in the province?
Well, certainly, you know, one of the things we've just been talking about in the meeting is identifying strong allies who can help move the policy forward. And certainly in most of the jurisdictions, definitely in Vermont and in similar places with a rural component, Gainesville's very urban, but in those places that have adopted feed-in tariffs that have an agricultural community, that's a very strong ally. And feed-in tariffs are certainly not limited to solar. In fact, most places have a different tariff for different types of renewable resources. It might be one amount to build a wind project and a different one to do a biogas project and a different one to do a solar project. And any one of those can be done at a farm or a forest. So that's a strong ally. I know in Alberta the First Nation people are potential allies. And you know, as I've said in Gainesville, your business community can be a strong ally. Certainly many of our largest investors are prominent people in the business community who are benefiting from the feed-in tariff program. And then of course the renewable industry itself, the people who install the systems, the people who do the electrical work on the systems, the roofers, you know, and those are all jobs that cannot be outsourced. You have to have the guy putting the system up on the roof. You can't send that to China. It's impossible. So, so we have had some strong business community allies as well, which I think is key for any place, and certainly Alberta would be a place that I would assume that would be an important consideration.